Hello and welcome to HealthCast 305, Miami's #1 health and fitness related talk show first and podcast. Today we have a massage therapist here, a local massage therapist he's been everywhere. Every time I go marketing or go somewhere, I always see his cards. He's like the most traveled man in Miami. He's everywhere. He probably can relate to the lifestyle, of course, way more than me, if anything, of traveling and meeting people everywhere. Um, his name is Steven Menard, and he's owner and creator of Menard Therapy. It's a really good name. I like it personally. Um, so welcome to the show, Steven. Tell us a little bit about your business and why you started it.
Thanks for having me here. I've been a massage therapist since 2002, and just being a male therapist in this industry that long, you definitely learn that you have to be better than everyone else, pretty much. And it took me 2 years outside of school to find a job because at that time there was no massage NVs or anything around, so your opportunities were very scarce. So I did some from 2004 to 2008. I worked with the Hard Rock at the Contour Spa there, went on my own a little bit, and then I spent 8 years with Equinox. That's where I really dove into the movement industry more and how to work with trainers and Pilates and yoga instructors. And that's kind of been how I really formed my 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 techniques, my approaches, and how to get the most for my clients. So that's pretty much been my ride, and it's been great ever since.
Nice. Yeah, so it sounds like you had a pretty well-rounded upbringing there with a lot of different people and industries. So um, that's awesome. So I've seen, like I said, when I've been marketing going around, I've seen your business everywhere. You have a lot of people that you work with. Me too. Is there a certain type of population or people that you find yourself dealing with the most as part of this business here?
Yeah, well, working with Equinox has really made me attuned to the fitness industry. So when I decided to leave there, I definitely made it more of a priority to get out to different studios, Elevation Gym, True Fusion, Red Bike, just to name a few, to really actually use the classes and then network with those trainers and create those relationships. And doing that, putting the legwork in, has definitely paid off. Has kept me busy. In
Mm-hmm.
addition to joining BNI as well, has helped me grow my business through learning more about referral networking and working with the business community within Miami as well as the fitness community. So it's been my focus and niche pretty much.
Yeah, the BNI thing. I've heard of that. I looked into it once. It's interesting because you work basically with like-minded like individuals that are also in like the same industry kind of. So if like you're a massage therapist, you might be paired up with like a doctor and maybe a PT, maybe a chiro. So you all have like a network of referrals, so you can all help the same people and then you have somewhere to send people.
Yeah, there's over 30 chapters in Miami. Every chapter is different. Luckily, the chapter I'm in, we have a very strong health sphere. So
Yeah.
Cairo, I do have a movement person myself, and a few others within that sphere. But we all help each other out, and I have access to all types of professionals that I normally probably would never meet. So that has really helped me out, helped me gain more perspective on business, different aspects of it, and help. I'm just reaching everyone because I know I have something that can help everyone or people they know. So it's a very easy decision for me to get into that. And within the first 6 months, I've seen my ROI really, really skyrocket. In addition, with my fitness clientele as well.
Wow, okay, yeah. So that might be something for me to look into as well. I feel like it might be good.
Bye
Um,
bye.
so knowing all this, what regions do you cover in particular? Because I've seen like your Instagram, you're everywhere. So what regions in South Florida do you cover?
Okay, well, working in Brickell and living in Miami Lakes, I'm pretty widespread throughout East Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So I even see people in West Broward, to Hollandale, Aventura, up through the beaches, Midtown, Miami Shores, downtown, Brickell, Coral Gables,
Mm-hmm.
some in Pinecrest and the Grove. So it's pretty much my area of reach. But that was pre-COVID. Now for COVID, it's pretty much I see people in office Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I might make exceptions for friends and family that are close by or that are in houses. I'm not going to any condominiums with elevators and valet in my car. That
Oh, wow. Very careful. That's good.
being very strict, for my clients and for the family as well, that I don't bring it back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you do live, it seems like, in a house here in a little neighborhood with lawnmowers and everything. So you don't want to bring that back to anyone over there. Um, all right. So yeah, like I said, I've seen you all over Instagram, all over social media. You're very good with the social media aspect, which is very important, obviously.
Yeah,
Letting people know, and that's how you are. That's how it's got to be when you're in 2020 here. If we have a private business like that, you have to be very active on social media. So,
absolutely.
and you have a lot of cool clients. I was actually seeing one talk about you the other day, and they were mentioning something, and this is relevant because you just talked about COVID. People who get treatment virtually, and that's not something you would expect, especially from a massage therapist, because we think about hands-on only. So, explain those virtual sessions to me.
So virtual sessions are pretty much self-care coaching, helping them, whether if they have a foam roller handy or if it's just a bath towel. I kind of run them through some scenarios on what they can do. Since we're on video, I have them do it. I get their feedback, and then it's either good or bad, and then I try if I need to adjust something. But I've had a handful of clients through doing that they've, even with not even having a foam roller, it helped them a little bit because it's things that people never do. So if they do it, it usually makes a difference. And obviously, it's not the same as in person, but if I can coach you through any self care tips or any mobilization or any stretches or anything I can do to help you, people like it. Obviously, the more tools they have at their disposal, the better I can help them, whether they have a hypervolt, some cups laying around, some bands,
Mm-hmm.
anything that I know can help them will help them. So I've had a handful of clients through that, especially when I took 3 months off from March to June, where I wasn't seeing anybody. So during that time, I was able to kind of float by a little bit on that, but it's definitely better to be in person for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can actually implement everything hands-on, but it does. What I've noticed with my business is that doing the digital stuff does help you with your queuing, the way you talk to patients, because you have no other options. So, I mean, if you're doing that as a massage therapist, that must have been very difficult. So, the fact that you could even get away with that one was pretty amazing. So, you
Yeah.
can, if you can teach it, man, then obviously you must be really good at doing it too.
Yeah.
So what kind of clients have you had before? Athletes, and I'm assuming anything from athletes to Medicare population. And I'm assuming that you do a lot of different techniques. So I guess the first question is, what kind of populations have you seen? That's the first question. I kind of made it seem like there was going to be two.
That can, yeah, that's definitely a wide array span. I have clients where their kids are playing sports, and I'll help them, stay healthy, stay active, because a lot of them, especially as particular volleyball player I was working with, I mean, they go from, summer and very little activity to like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So her lower back was bothering her, so I just kind of helped her recover better, showed her some stuff with her movement, and that would be one set of clients. The other set would be
Mm-hmm.
your professional who likes to be active, and and they're at the desk 8 hours a day, and their shoulders are killing them, and they can't do what they want to do. That would be another set of clients, and even up to a 79-year-old who I can just help with their mobility. Um, that is another set of clients that I see. So it really, spans the broad spectrum of things, but there's something for everyone that I can help with, no matter how old you are. Um, I really don't get too much older than 70s and 80s because at some point when their skin starts getting more papery thin, that's probably not a good client for me because I do incorporate cupping and scraping in certain things. So when their skin is integrity is in question, I have a therapist who does a lot of elderly or sees a lot of elderly clients that I'll usually refer to her.
Okay, good. So you have a network of a different massage therapists that could jump in for different people who need it. So it sounds like there's something for everyone as long as
Mm-hmm.
we contact you first. So you're mentioning some of the techniques you use. Tell us a little bit about the cupping one. I mean, I have cups myself. They have the soft cups, they have the hard cups. They even have the ones where you can still light the match to make the
Yeah.
pressure difference. So I have my rationale for using them, but you use them much more than me, obviously. So I want to hear why you use it and what it's all about, cupping for the audience here.
Okay. I have the pump cups and the silicone cups. I prefer the silicone cups. They're more versatile. They're more comfortable for the client. Um, and I use them with movement. So I'll probably put 3 cups on a shoulder girdle and have them do some specific movements, and I'll take them off, and their shoulder will feel like amazing because it helps. What it's doing is it helps decompress that fascia and the tissue around the area, and it brings that blood into the area, so it helps the muscles glide better and just feel better and work better. So combining that with the scraping, which is not as painful as it sounds. It's actually a pretty light technique using a very smooth blade to help stimulate the fascia and the neurokinetic connection from the fascia to the brain. Just giving your body a little more awareness. Sometimes your body gets traumatized in certain movements, and when you just do a little bit of light scraping, it'll kind of send a signal back to the brain that this is okay to move. Um, so that's kind of like the long and short of it. And I've seen some great uh, success with my clients with the cupping and the scraping, and everyone asks me, what about the bruising? I say the bruising is varies by each individual based on how much stagnation is in that area, and their
Mm-hmm.
usually if there's tan or olive skin, they'll generally mark out more than someone with my type of skin. So I always just let them know. I always say there is always possibility of marks, but it's not a bruise, and it actually is lessened when I go back over it with like a lymphatic stroke to help that interstitial debris go into the lymphatic system for waste.
Oh, good. So you follow up with it. That's something that I've noticed too. Is like if I don't follow it up with some kind of effleurage technique, then it tends to stick more. I mean, you can even see it if you've created an actual lump after you've done the cupping, and you do a little bit of that, it can reduce it by half the size, which is definitely getting the process started. Now,
Yeah.
what you said about the rationale for the scraping was really, really good. Um, that's exactly that's exactly it, and that's which is, and I expected that because you know what you're doing. But a lot of people with scraping look at it differently. But a big component of the reason why scraping works is not only the physical effects, but it is the fact that you are sending a different signal, one that teaches the body about pain or pressure in that area, and it can alter the way that your brain responds and feels pain later on. So it's not like it's doing is breaking up fascia, although it does have an effect on the fascia. A lot of it is what you were saying, and that was a really good way to explain it. And if you tell your patients or clients that, do you ever explain that stuff to your clients, like go into detail? Or do they really not care usually?
Usually I'll break it down to where they can understand it, but I'll
Mm-hmm.
just show them. I'll just do 30-second scraping on their rock hard trap and melt it, and without even
Mm-hmm.
doing any massage, and they can feel it for themselves. And then I'll kind of explain it as simply as possible, and they appreciate that. I mean, the more you can educate your client, the longer you'll have your client, and the more referrals you get. So, education is power.
Yeah, right. And it helps with the overall healing process too. If a patient knows exactly what's going on when they're getting healed, it's good. Even if it's not pretty, because I could say that all scraping does is break down fascia, and it's literally me like tearing away fascial restrictions, which is an overstatement. But that might make the patient think that everything's going fine, and they might get better that way. But using what we both know about the actual effects of scraping and how it's a combination of effects, it's beneficial, and it helps the client and patient understand, like, all right, like this might not be doing like all the physical stuff where it's just tearing into this, but it's also there's also like a there's also like a descending inhibitory thing happening here because he's scraping it, and my body feels this, and it's aiding in its perception of movement afterwards, which makes it easier to move, and it creates that subjective feeling of tissues being looser because your body will actually loosen up in that sense too. So it's definitely very multifactorial with both cupping and scraping, but there are definitely um, those physical and those manifestations you see, like the scraping marks, right? And we see the red spots where they scrape, or with cupping you see the red circles, which are
Mm,
kind of like a mark of honor. People love showing them off afterwards. And
yeah.
but like you said, the tissues that are most sticky, the tissues that are most stagnant, they tend to really leave quite a mark. But sometimes if they're really bad, it's like you can't even get into it with a cup, right? Do the silicone cups seem like they're less powerful? I mean, obviously, because they're just squeezing with your hand. Or what would you say the difference is between using both of those silicone versus?
Not really, because they have a better seal than the plastic cups. And with the scraping and cupping, I tend to use more movement. I tend to have them move something or activate something. And with my scraping, I usually, very rarely, I leave any marks with the scraping. I go rather lighter than most.
Mm-hmm.
But I put them through movement. So when you put something through movement and you're doing something to it, it already makes it more intensive, more intense.
Yeah.
Just show them specific foam rolling techniques. Um, simple as rolling your quad. I don't tell them to just roll over your quad. I say pick a spot and then flex and extend like self myofascial, and it automatically makes it more intense than just rolling over your quad. So it's kind of like my same approach to using scraping and cupping. And sometimes I'll have them, maybe reach up with their lat and scrape their lat and do like a movement like that. And while I'm doing it, they can see how much more better they're moving instantly.
Yeah, and
So
you're
they quicker.
yeah, and you're invoking this this like descending neuromuscular control where it's your brain is overcoming the perceived fear of these motions, and you're also scraping or cupping the spots that hurt. So it's
Yeah,
like there's this whole intervention that comes in that before or previously they might not have touched the area that entire time. You know, their brain might have a poor representation of a chronic pain area because your brain has those little representations of parts of your body inside of it. So if you have chronic pain, let's say in your low back, then over time it becomes softened. You can't really tell where the finger is when you touch their back. You can't draw a letter on their back, and they don't know what's going on. That's a thing that happens
yeah,
too. Graphesthesia, they call that, or light touch. They can't differentiate between 2 points that are near each other. So these are all things that happen with chronic pain, and I'm sure you deal a lot with chronic pain as
yeah.
well. Do you also see a lot of post-surgical patients?
Yes, recently I had a plastic surgeon, Dr. Dev. I have a relationship with his office manager, professional, of course. But they started sending me clients because I worked on her, and just for scar therapy and using some lymphatic, but also using the scraping and cupping to help those scars heal better. And other than scar therapy, most of them need other therapy too. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like an all-in-one thing. So yeah, so I've been seeing more and more clients with explants. So those are when they take the breast implants out for medical reasons or for whatever reason they want to do that. And that's becoming more and more popular um, it, because there could be leakage or there could be you're putting a foreign object in your body at some point. Doesn't always accept it. Your body won't always accept it. So that's what I've been helping his clients with, is just helping them start scar therapy, showing what they can do on their own at home. They buy a few soft silicone cups, they can do it themselves with their scar. But I've been seeing great results, not just the scraping and cupping, but the taping, also taping for scars. It's less painful for them. The shear taping will help kind of uh, keep working after we're done. And I've just been having great success with it.
Is that when you mentioned taping? Is it shear taping is that the technique or the style? Like because when I hear shear taping, I think of taping that takes two tissues and kind of
Yep.
shears them across each other. Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
So that would just be creating mobility. I would assume in those tissues because you're pulling in two different directions, for example.
Yeah.
And
They do
then
call it taping is what rock tape calls it, but
yeah, and then there's also. Do you ever do the taping where you basically cut the end so it looks like a palm tree almost, and it aids in reabsorption?
lymphatic, yeah, lymphatic.
And do you also do lymphatic massage as part of your business?
I do like more like a modified. I don't say straight up lymphatic, but I did a internship with Bo Marinos a few years ago, and they kind of taught us like in a modified version of lymphatic, especially for the players. Because I do get a sports agent does send me like soccer players and stuff, and they want their legs to be lighter. So I did learn a modified version of that. And I'm looking to um, get more info in lymphatic, but but I've seen great results even with soccer players or anyone that uses their legs a lot. With the techniques I use plus the cupping will help the lymphatic system as well. So combining those things definitely gives me a really good result in moving those tissues into the ducts, or moving the fluid into the ducts, I should
Mm-hmm.
say. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at with that. So
So tell me a little bit about this muscle flossing that we talked about before the show.
so muscle flossing is a application used with a an elastic rubber band, and it basically kind of compresses the tissue, but you can mobilize it for better glide.
Mm-hmm.
So I use that a lot with usually wrist or hand stuff, or sometimes with the calf or ankle. Those things can be very effective in kind of opening up those tissues or helping with drainage if it's a full on ankle or a sprain. Sometimes it can be very helpful. Um, but yeah, I mean, it feels amazing when it's done right. Sometimes it's a little bit of blood flow restriction, but it's not a lot. You don't put it on as hard as you think you would. But I know a lot of that. I remember Kelly Surratt. He's a physical therapist. He really dove into that and made voodoo floss.
Voodoo floss, yeah.
I think, and then obviously, Rock Tape has their own rock floss that I use. So it's just been very effective with different things in different areas to help people with. And you can use it everywhere. I mean, on your legs, your quads, even diaphragmatic stuff. It's really powerful stuff. Once you really understand the why behind it.
So how do you use it diaphragmatically? Because I think there's someone I work with in elevation um, that I work alongside of him. I see him working with people, and he also uses the rock floss, like the big one. Is that what you're talking about? The big one that you wrap around their basically between their diaphragm and the top of their pelvis, and then they can practice breathing techniques and all that stuff.
Yeah, you can practice breathing techniques. You can practice rotational things where you'll hold it and you'll have them rotate from different side. And all of that just helps create awareness within your body, helps your breathing get better, and your movement, if you're going transverse or whatnot, can really help give you more awareness and just help you move better.
Yeah, it's an area that's often ignored. I mean, most people spend a lot of their day sitting, and it's a little bit of a disconnect because they're sitting on their pelvis and their knees are bent, their hips are bent, and they're never really in a dependent position where they're having to lift and rotate. So there becomes disconnections. It would be a sloppy way to put it, where between your upper body and your lower body, people just move, for lack of a better word, incorrectly. It's not like always a perfect way to move, and it's not like it's that big of a deal typically. But working on ways to move more holistically or more as a unit, connecting that upper body and the diaphragm, which is the lower part of it, into the torso and transferring energy is a big deal. And it all starts with stuff like just breathing in like a knees bent position on your back, right? So do you start with like when you have people when you have a first appointment with someone, what are some of the things that you're looking at on evaluation and treatment day, or just go right into the massage, or you kind of do little evaluative things as you're massaging them?
Usually, after they take their intake, I'll just have a few questions. Just what's going on today? What are you feeling? What's your worst thing you're feeling? Any movements that bother, that pain? Just kind of take that into account. And then there's three basic movements I'll have them do. One would be this against a wall, see how tight this is. One would be a translational or yeah, see how they rotate, and then one would be touch their toes just to see, how that's going. And then if there's anything with their lower back or hips, so maybe I'll have them do a squat or
Mm-hmm.
side lunge or something. And then and then I'll kind of see what's going on. We'll do the treatment. I'll always customize each treatment for each person. There's no like protocols or just cookie cutter stuff. It's usually trying to help that person move better in that area. So, you know, throughout the session, there's feedback, there's movement, usually it's on a table. Sometimes I have them off a table, just depending on what I got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the session, we'll go back into those movements, and then usually they will see an improvement. Sometimes drastically, sometimes subtly, but they'll see an improvement with their movement and a lot less pain. And my go-to at the end of the session, if it's still not where I want it to be, would be applying some rock tape somewhere to help really compress that area and give them some stability.
Mm-hmm. The rock tape that you leave on them as they go, yeah. And
Yeah,
that rock tape, they've seen that with active movements plus rock tape or any kind of taping, that's when it really becomes effective. So it's good that you do that to end, which is great. And that it's not like the sole reliance. A lot of people might think that way, but it really is about combining that that active mobility work with something like tape as well. So do you ever like teach people certain movements or things they can do on their own, give them homework and stuff like that for people that need continuous care at home?
absolutely. First and foremost, I always take out your typical black high density foam roller, 36 inches long, 6 inches round. I was like, you need to have this in your home. I don't care if your gym has one. Honestly, it's not sanitary. People grinding their crotches on it. You on your back. Get your own. Keep it by your bed. And I start them off with very simple things, just like, the little angels and stuff like that, and telling them that you have to push back because that's where the magic is. That's where this is being stretched out and your back muscles are being activated. I mean, I start with that, and then I go from there. I usually show people how to do their quads more effectively, um, and that's the very basics from there. But I just tell everyone, I'm like, you have to have your own foam roller, and you have to use it. And if it's a chronically postural patient or shoulders or neck, and I'm like, you have to use this. This is going to help you, in addition to other things you're going to do. And then sometimes, if people are coming out of an injury, I'll have a few, whether it's PTs like yourself, or even if they just need a trainer to help them move in a better way. I have those people available as well that I try to link them up, and I'm not the end all. I mean, there's a whole team involved. I'll help the release, a little bit of movement, but let's get you to a movement professional to really help you and not just throw you into any CrossFit. Which is CrossFit's great if you know what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're doing, you need to have a little more guidance. Whether it's a good trainer at your CrossFit or a trainer I know, people always want to hate on CrossFit, and I'm like, CrossFit's awesome as long as you know what you're doing, because that time under tension and the speed and your form breaks down is never a good combination for, it's just an injury waiting to happen. So as long as you work it smart, you're fine. But
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know exactly what you're doing, then you got to be careful because injuries will come.
Yeah, I'm sure that you provide a lot of services to CrossFitters, and so do physical therapists, because there are a lot of injuries. But it's one of those sports where it's like these people become superheroes if they do it right and they do it enough. They they change the way they look, they change the way they feel. They learn a bunch of exercises that people who have been lifting weights in the gym in that regular isotonic, slow up, slow down for the past 10, 15 years, they can race right by them in terms of the amount of exercises they know how to do and the amount of things they can do. So it becomes like apocalypse ready. They look pretty impressive. And but the thing is when you're doing something that's going to do that much to you, you got to be careful because it's taking someone from 0 to 100 real quick, and you have to make sure that you very carefully build yourself up. So go to a good gym, which is subjective. Even 5-star gyms, people just accept it. But you go to a good gym, progressively overload it. Don't do anything too heavy. Don't do anything too crazy either. That's the thing with CrossFit. A lot of reps, and it's repetitive movements. And last week we had a pelvic floor therapist come in, and he said a lot of CrossFitters get issues with incontinence during things like jump rope, because it's like this continuous beating on top of basically a Valsalva you're holding. So even things like that, like those muscles too, can be affected. So definitely a lot of things to look out for, but it is good to have a professional like a massage therapist or physical therapist or chiropractor, or at least someone a level above to see some of the issues you're encountering. Which actually brings me to another point, like an example patient. So let's say, with like a CrossFitter or weekend warrior or athlete type, what are some of the biggest things that you notice in terms of the areas of restriction or areas of pain that you see in these populations?
Yeah, I mean, with a professional who's sitting at their desk 8 hours a day, it's a lot of hip flexion.
Yeah.
And so they just jump right into a WOD, and they're doing squats or they're doing this, and they're not taking the time beforehand to foam roll and open up those hips. Lower back pain probably gonna come knocking at their door. Other than that, it's always the thoracic, because they're at the computer like this, and now they're doing their push-ups, Kiplings, and this and that, and they're not properly either warmed up or stretched out or whatever it is. A lot of overhead stuff, a lot of thoracic injuries, maybe bicep tendonitis is with that population, which is what I would see the most. Sometimes foot and ankle.
Yeah.
I would say pretty much that. But if you're going to be a desk jockey, you need to warm up well before you go into your WOD and not just go balls to the wall. Because in your 20s you can get away with that. In your 30s, not so much. And whatever you did in your 40s is going to get you in your 50s and 60s. So you just have to be aware of what you're doing, and just know that if you're abusing your body, it'll go catch up to you. Just like eating wrong is going to catch up to you same way. So not to say CrossFit's parallel that, but it's just movement, the right movement. Because I've seen so many CrossFitters, just stop CrossFitting because they just can't.
Yeah, because you're really asking for an amazing amount of stuff from a desk jockey. And most of them are what they call desk jockeys because, classes start at like 5 to 8 p.m. There are a lot of people coming from work. And, the gym I went to is right here in Brickell. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was really good. I think the rent was like just too high.
Which one was that?
CrossFit Vita. Remember that one?
Okay. So, yeah. And then I think someone moved over to Move, Lift, Fit.
Move, Lift, Live. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. That's the gym I went to before COVID. They had some great classes. So.
Yeah, I know the guy. Yeah. I think a couple of them came over. One of them in particular was like a mobility coach. Oh gosh, I'm blanking out his name. It's a shame. Troy Jason Valls or something. Yeah. Troy's a good guy, and he's a great business mind too. He was talking about when he was talking about setting it up. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm glad that I don't have to work with permits or rental or. But I mean, he has that pedigree, so he knew what he was doing with setting up the location. But they definitely have like a holistic approach there between. I think they have a physical therapist of their own as well. And yeah, he's a great class leader too. He did a lot of like the recovery session stuff at CrossFit Vita Brickell.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean it was a great gym. And I think they just like raised the rent really high on people, and they had to just cancel it. And I was shocked. I came back for I paused my membership for some reason, And I walk up and the doors were locked, and I was like, oh, this is classic. They just raised the rent in Brickell here. I bet that's what happened. Um, so what about another population? So we have the desk jockeys that do a little bit CrossFit. We were talking earlier about some of your other patients. I'm trying to think of another good example patient that doesn't include that population. Is there any other another kind of a juxtaposed group that you see a lot of that maybe I can't think of right now?
I mean, the elderly. I mean, I don't see a lot of them, but I do get some older clients,
Mm-hmm.
and with them, it's. I had a client. She had back pain for 15, 20 years. She's seen all these specialists and doctors, and I just simply I'm like, your glutes are non-existent. I'm like, your glutes are what support your lower back. So once I helped her kind of activate, help release. I mean, she had great mobility. She wasn't that tight, but she just had no activation in her glutes. So I helped, kind of activate her glutes through her hip flexors, and she said once we really got a good activation, her lower back like released, and she was very thankful, very grateful in her upper 60s, 70s. And I've seen her, I've known her for about 5 years, and she just couldn't believe it because she's had so many people come and take advantage of her, charge her a bunch of money, sell her some stuff that she doesn't need, like these massive foam roller balls that no one would use because it's like now you're gonna treat instability with more instability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like
That's a classic answer from the community.
very mobile. You need more stability. So she's definitely one example of helping her maintain or increase her stability, so her back doesn't go out. She has elderly parents. She's helping with them. She's back and forth from New York to Montreal to Miami. So she's been one definitely on the older spectrum. And then I have a 79-year-old that I saw right before COVID, and the same thing. She just had upper back, a lot of pain there, and just helping her get out of that and showing her things she can do on her own right next to her couch in a safe way. I always tell them like have a couch, have a carpet, always be safe, that you can be stable, and here's a few things you can do, and just helping empowering themselves that it's not just let me go see a doctor or let me go see this. It's like here's a few things you can do on your own that's going to help you,
Yeah.
a safe way, and that way they don't feel so powerless. It's all about trying to empower people to help themselves and move forward. And she's been wanting to see me again, but she's in the older population. It's just I don't want to ever bring anything to anybody, and
Yeah.
unless she wants to come to the office or her son can bring her there, that'll be how it is for a minute. But yeah, I mean that's kind of on the older side of the spectrum, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's the thing. Once again, you were saying about, especially with older people, it's been so many years of people hammering into them how, you're getting older, things are going to start breaking down, and then it's a little bit of like this passive victimization that occurs over time where they think that they're screwed and that there's nothing that's going to help them and that they're not flexible and things are breaking down and things just don't work anymore. And then you start testing them on the evaluation day. You notice that they have good flexibility. You know, they actually have a little bit of glute activation. They have good muscle tone. It's like if only you knew that you actually present better. Like you're 83, but you present better than people who are like in their 50s. So it's important to know that the human body is very resilient and strong, and that you can have these acute or chronic conditions of pain, but that's just all part of the experience. We got to get it better. We have to fix things, and it might feel like it's your unique experience that's unfixable, but that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean it's the experience you have to live with and that you're broken and you're like a car. Because in the end, we're not like a car. Where our cells are reproducing, we're growing, we're getting better over time, and we can definitely see improvements with the right techniques and the right control exerted by you, the clinician and the patient themselves working together to get better. So that's a
Yeah.
big thing. It seems like, is just empowering the patient and having them understand the biggest thing is we're not like a car, we're resilient human bodies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so muscle energy. This is a video I saw you working with someone using muscle energy techniques, and that's a concept we use in physical therapy. Chiros use it too. In particular, it's sometimes to adjust the SI joints or to get a relief in tension. How do you use muscle energy techniques in your practice? Because I saw that you were promoting that on your Instagram.
Yeah. Uh, one of my mm, One of my more popular ways is doing a muscle energy technique where you trap sideline. I'll have you push against and do this. I'll kind of go through it and it'll help lengthen out your tissue because you're constantly holding that area. So when I can get you to kind of trick you to relax it, it's a very effective technique, especially for that area.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also use it within the hamstrings and quads. And I learned a lot of that from Eric Dalton's myoskeletal alignment. He uses a lot of muscle energy techniques within his therapy. Because it's kind of like mixed with a little bit of chiropractic, not adjustment wise, but more like using levers and activation. So that's kind of how I've used it mostly through the years, as with some of his techniques, and it's very effective. It's very powerful, and people love it. It feels great. So just helping people just open up a little more and just tricking them into relaxing, pretty much.
Yeah, it seems that your technique is heavy in the like you're not just passively having someone lay there and work on them all the time. You're having people be active in their recovery, which
Yeah,
is what a good clinician does. You're having them do things, you're teaching them a lot, you're giving them homework when they need it, if they want it, and you're also working with them actively, doing these active releases and these muscle energy techniques, which seems to be. I'm sure you've experienced this as being more effective than just a very passive lay down hour-long massage.
yeah, it's much more effective. It goes back to empowering them, giving them control. The more control I can give them, the better they're gonna get. Like if I just dig into their subscap, I mean that is painful as crap. But if I get them to do some movement while I just hold an area, they're gonna feel much better. It's gonna be less painful, and they're gonna see a better improvement. So movement, yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, don't expect that you're gonna come here and just lay there like hamburger meat, and I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. I'm like, you're gonna do a little work, a little movement. At the end, you're gonna be relaxed, but there's gonna be a little bit of work in there, um, for sure. And that's what people, that's what sets me apart, and that's what people like. I mean, there's a million massage therapists in Miami, um, but that's again just trying to get those results for them, and they appreciate that. And whenever I come across someone who doesn't get massages, doesn't want massages, there are usually two reasons they'll say. Either someone just rubbed them with oil and they don't feel any different, or someone beat the crap out of them and they felt worse.
Yeah.
Those two scenarios won't happen with me. The quickest way you can ruin a massage is using too much cream, oil, lubricant, whatever you want to call it. That's my biggest pet peeve. As when I was a spa manager for Equinox, I would get all the demo massages, and the quickest way they would ruin the experience is just slather me with cream. Definitely not a good thing. And with being painful, we're using pain for pain. When people come in, they usually have a trap or they're rhomboid or whatever. They feel a lot of pain and locked up. Most therapists just want to dig into it, make it worse, and not even address the subscap or the pec or anything else. And I'm like, that's not gonna happen. I'm like, we're gonna work on getting some blood flow there, maybe some cups in there, and then we're gonna turn you over, put you on half a foam roller, open up that pec and the subscap, and you're gonna feel a difference. And that's the difference, is actually helping, not trying to treat the symptom, but trying to find the resolution.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Treating the thing that's causing the symptom, and that's you could chase symptoms all day, but if there's something that's causing the issue, you got to get after that. So that's good that you're actually looking for those things, and that's what physios and all the other professionals should be doing as well. That we're actually taking care of that. So Well, that's cool stuff, man. I mean, this has been an informative show covering a lot of the things that I think people see and might hear about massage, but they're not exactly sure, or things they see
Yeah.
and hear at the gym with people messing around when they bring their own tables in and do stuff, but they're not as actually exactly sure of the rationale of why people are using it. So it's all about the rationale. So if you're listening and you're getting treated by a massage therapist or a physio or a chiro or some kind of recovery person, like, ask them why they're doing it and what it's going to do for them. That's where the real meat of the answer is what's the rationale that they're using to treat you, or are they just invoking a certain modality that is like, meh, they don't even know if it works, they don't know why they're doing it, and it's just cool looking. So it's good that we think through these things, and we use our professional judgment and history to guide our decisions in the future, which creates better outcomes for the patient. So just things to think about as you're listening today. So tell the audience a little bit about where they can find you on social media and your website and all that stuff. Let's hear that.
Okay. Well, you can always find me at Menard Therapy on Instagram. Is the best way to find me. I'm still working on getting my website up and launching my own podcast as well. But Menard Therapy, I guess, would be the easiest way to find me. My phone number's on there, and you could also search Menard Therapy on Facebook, but Instagram is probably a better way to go.
Yeah, Instagram is kind of it's a nice middle ground. It's easy. It's like your digital business card nowadays. That's what I'm realizing. So,
Pretty
um,
much.
yeah, definitely. And he has a lot of great content on his Instagram. He's good with it. I can vouch for it. I've seen, um, he puts, there's a combination of techniques you use, some testimonials, so you really feel good after you look into it a little bit. That's how I found you. Once again, I found you through that, but I knew that you were a hustler because I saw your cards everywhere, and I was like, this guy is going to all the places. I would go to like the weirdest places that I thought no one's even marketed at before, and I saw your cards there, so I was like, okay, he's in the same mentality as me, so I have to talk to him.
See, people say cards don't work, but apparently they do.
Have you gotten that before? Have you gotten like the weirdest referrals from like, oh, like this guy who knew someone at this golf range like in Weston that you visited, and you're like, wow, that who would have thought that would have paid off, you know?
Yeah, sometimes I can't remember any off the top of my head, but I know I've had some referrals that just come out of the blue from
Yeah,
something else. Idea would turn into anything.
it's always the least expected place. Well, it was
Yeah.
nice talking to you, Steven. I feel more informed. I hope the audience is more informed about some of these techniques: cupping, scraping, post-surgical massage, muscle flossing, taping. I said that twice, and some of those muscle energy techniques. So, if you guys are interested in a massage therapist or working with someone that knows what they're talking about, um, honestly, you're the most knowledgeable massage therapist I've ever talked to. So that's great. That's coming from a physical therapist. So I think that means something too. Hopefully, you really know your stuff, and your explanations of those things are better than I can explain it. So I need to learn how to explain those things to my patients a little bit better too. Because I sometimes I just go go go, and then I'm like, wait, do you know what I'm saying anymore? So it is. I love the way that you can articulate it in a way that the listeners probably understood very well. So thanks very much, and I'll see you in the future. We'll talk. We'll keep messaging and all that stuff. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Again, you sent me a referral a long time ago. I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate this.
Oh,
It's just highlighting, and I'm looking forward to having you on my podcast as well. But thanks again. Thanks for the opportunity, and we'll definitely do more in the future for sure.
yeah. Remember, people, Menard Therapy. Check it out on Instagram. Okay. All right, Steven. Have a good day, and thanks very much.
All right, thank you.